hello everybody. Welcome to our first live webinar of lockdown number 2. Now, that's not something that I expected to be saying when we started the network back in March, but sadly we're here again. But as always, we're here to try and bring a bit of joy, bring a bit of motivation and cheer, and a bit of positivity whilst we're kind of going through all of this together. So I'm really excited for today. I'm always excited about all of our webinars, but particularly this one featuring Judith. Now, Judith and I we were introduced by a mutual contact who got in contact with me and said, look, have a chat with Judith. I think she's fantastic. This is her story. And when Judith and I started talking, a lot of people will probably resonate with this. You know, when you meet someone, you chat to them for the very first time, and you know, you're kind of almost finishing each other's sentences, and you're completely on the same vibe as each other. And you know, when you kind of meet people like that, which is kind of quite rare, to be fair, Judith and I had that, and it was very apparent that very early on in the conversation that I was super keen to get Judith on board, because I thought our wonderful BSM family would benefit a lot from the bits and pieces that Judith has to say. So I'm not going to say too much about Judith's background, because I'm sure she'll introduce herself properly. But she describes herself as a motivationalist, and I got off our first conversation feeling really invigorated and really kind of energized and happy. So I know that you guys are going to feel exactly the same after this conversation today. So Judith is here to talk about change and embracing change, and the bits and pieces that come with change, so you can kind of go forward and take lots of control in our lives. So as always, it's never all about me, it's all about our guests. So welcome, Judith. Welcome to the Business Support Network.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. What a lovely introduction. Thank you very, very much. And good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Is it over to me now?
Yes, it's
over. Wow.
It's over to you.
Right. Okay, fantastic.
I'll be here. Don't worry, Judith. I'll be here the whole way through.
Okay, fantastic. Well, as Paul said, yes, I'm a motivationist, and we were put in touch by a mutual friend. And what I love to do is I love to inspire, I love to motivate, and I love to just encourage individuals. My main target audience is women, as a woman myself, as a mother, etc. But I hope my message is relevant for everybody. So today, as Paul said, I'm going to talk about dealing with and embracing change. And it's really interesting, because change is something that is all going to happen to us at some point. It's going to fall into our lap. It's inevitable. But when it happens, we don't know. Is everyone still there? Are we all still there? Yes?
Yeah, everyone's okay. Still here, Judith.
Okay, all right, then you just went. Okay, yeah. Sorry. So change is inevitable. We know it's going to land in our lap at some point. But when it comes, we don't know how to manage it. We don't know how to handle it. And we find it difficult to deal and embrace it. Today, I'm just going to talk about some ways in which we can deal with and embrace change when it comes. So first of all, I want to talk about the meaning of change. So not the change we have in our purses or our wallets, but the wider meaning of change. And the meaning of change, well, there are many meanings, but I've taken just a few. And the meanings of change are to alter, to modify, or to replace something with something. So that's to alter, to modify, or to replace something with something. So it doesn't mean the end, and it doesn't mean eradication. It doesn't mean deletion. It doesn't mean anything is finished. It just means that you are tweaking in order to stay on track and to stay on your journey. And the reason why we may have to tweak could be a number of things, such as our end destination has been adjusted, or our direction of travel has been diverted slightly, or there's an obstacle or challenge or uncertainty that has fallen into our lap. And let's be honest, right now, we are dealing with a lot of uncertainty, obstacles, and challenges right now. With COVID-19, people have been made redundant, people have lost their job, etc. So that's something that we're dealing with right now. And also there's opportunity. Maybe an opportunity has fallen into your lap and it's come at a surprise and you're like, whoa, how do I deal with this? How do I put this into my plans? How do I adjust myself so I can embrace this opportunity? So when we break down the meaning of change, you can see, so it's not final, like we think, oh my gosh, change now. And it's not deletion, it's not eradication. It just means tweaking. It just means adjusting so that we can stay on track and we can still be on our journey and keep moving forward and keep on putting one foot in front of the other. So now we really understand the meaning of change and what it means. The next step we think, okay, well, how do I need to be thinking when I'm dealing with change? How can I think positively so that when change comes, I can positively affect it and deal with it? So I talked about thinking. So thinking is up here, our minds. And thinking, our minds, that's our mindset. So that it's the thoughts and beliefs, that's what mindset is, the thoughts and beliefs that we hold to be true about ourselves, other people, or other things. And those things can be changed. The thoughts and beliefs, they can be changed. And they are things that they can either propel us to success, or they can keep us paralyzed with fear. And because they're thoughts and beliefs, we can choose to help ourselves get out of whatever that is holding us back, or we can choose to let ourselves free from what is going to let us go free. So the mindset, there are two types of mindsets. There is a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So the fixed mindset is the mindset that says, I can't, I won't, just not for me, I can't do it, I can't even think about it. And then there's a growth mindset that says, I will, I can, I'll try, I'm going to give it a go. And that is the part of our mind, the part of our mindset that we need to use when we are dealing with change. So when change comes our way and we think, okay, change has come. I didn't know it was coming. It just comes from nowhere. I need to deal with it. We need to be using the proactive side of our mindset, the growth mindset that says, okay, I'm going to try. I will. I'm going to take a step forward. I'm going to embrace it. And that's the mindset that we need to be using when we're dealing with change. It's the mindset that is going to allow us to think clearly about, okay, well, I need to alter. I need to modify. I need to replace something with something. And you know what? I'm going to give it my best shot because I didn't know it was coming and it wasn't planned for. It's just come all of a sudden. But I'm going to use my growth mindset and I'm going to embrace it. And I'm going to use that to help me move forward with my change. So basically with that, when that's the mindset that's really going to help us deal with change. You know, change, as I said, is inevitable. You know, change is here to stay. Change is something that will always be in our lives. But it's how we deal with it and how we embrace it that is going to help us to move forward. And so what are some of the tips and the strategies that we can employ when we are dealing with change? So the first thing, one of the things I always do is think about your end goal. So I said, maybe change has come and your end goal has been diverted. Maybe it's been shifted. The place where you thought you were heading to has slightly been shifted to the right or to the left a bit. But it still looks technically like the end goal, like where you're heading. So there is still an end goal. There's always an end goal. So there's still always an end goal that you're going to, that you're working towards. So look at the end goal, doesn't matter if it's shifted, what does it look like now? And then work backwards to where you are now. And then look at, okay, so where I am now, what steps do I need to take in order to get me to my end goal? And it may be the steps that you need to take now have to be adjusted because change has come and all of a sudden you need to change some of your steps. That's fine. But just alter those steps that you need to, alter them, those steps, and they will take you to your end goal. And even that end goal has been diverted, that will still take you to the same place. Yeah? So as I said, we are just tweaking so that we stay on track, that we still stay on our journey. So we've got an end goal. It may have shifted, it may have been diverted, but what we're going to do is we're going to work backwards to where we are. And that where we are could be today. Today could be the beginning of your new journey. See where you are, see where your own goal is. It may have shifted. Like I said, so much challenges, uncertainty, opportunity potentially has come into our laps. And that's the vision, that's the utopia. And then work backwards to where you are. And then adjust your steps accordingly. And it doesn't matter if they're shorter steps or they could be longer steps. The fact that you're always moving forward towards your goal in a way that has been slightly altered maybe, or adjusted, or you're replacing something with something, that will help you to move forward. And then think of the meaning of change. You know, there's many times where we say something, but we don't really understand the meaning of what we're saying. And when we talk about change, like I said before, to so many people think, oh my God, it just feels so final, like the end is nigh. It's not. You're just tweaking, as I said, to help you move forward. You're tweaking so you can still stay on track and maintain your journey. So some of the tips and strategies, think about when change comes to you, think about, okay, so change has come, or this has come, an opportunity, an obstacle, an obstruction, a challenge, uncertainty. That is all change. Okay, what do I need to do? Okay, so I need to alter something. I need to replace something with something. I need to change something. Really think about that word, and that will help you to say, okay, what are the steps that I now need to put in place? Yeah. And then following on from that, there are some personality traits that we need to embody when we're dealing with change, because now we've understood what the meaning of change is. And we've thought about the mindset, how we evolve our mindset, our thinking, so that we can really proactively and positively embrace change. How do we as individuals adapt ourselves? So if we've changed all of that and we're exactly the same, we're fixed and we haven't changed ourselves, there's no way that we can deal with and embrace change. So there's some words that we can think, there's some personality traits that we can employ that will help us when we are dealing with and embracing change. Things like creativity, being creative, being resourceful, being adaptable, being flexible. These are some of the things that all think about, and they all point to altering, modifying, and replacing something with something and adapting. Because when change comes, you cannot be static, you cannot be fixed. You've got to allow yourself to embrace it. And embrace it means you're letting it into your current life. And your current life is a particular way. But you have to adjust yourself so that you can embrace that change and allow yourself to adjust yourself slightly to be able to, in order to embrace it and to adapt that change and to move forward with that change. You know, no one told us that life was going to be easy. No one promised us that. You know, what we're dealing with now, the pandemic, you know, if we could rewind the clock and this time last year, oh yeah, this is happening. Yeah, you're joking. That's what we would have all said. But we're here today. And also this year, all of us have had to evolve in some shape or another. So that proves that actually we can deal with and embrace change. Even though we were forced to, we've all adapted, evolved ourselves in some way. So we just need to continue on that journey, to continue adapting, continue evolving, continue being resourceful, to continue being flexible, continue being adaptable, so that we can truly deal with and embrace change. Yeah. You know, one of the things with change is that I said, you know, you never know that it's going to come. You know, and when it comes, we don't know how to manage it. We don't know how to handle it. But now when we let it in, it's almost like you're letting something in. and it's the start of something amazing. Rather than seeing it as the end of a chapter, see it as the beginning of something, the beginning of a new chapter. Because whatever happens, you will learn from it. Because tomorrow when you're talking to somebody or you're reviewing what you've done, you will know that without that going through that change, you wouldn't be able to think differently, to act differently, and to know differently when something else comes our way. You know, what we need to do as well, and I spoke about this and I put that in my information about how we can run alongside change, how we can walk alongside change, and how we can even be ahead of change. You know, you can't sit there and plan and say, right, when change comes, I'm going to do this and this. No, you can't. But what we need to do is we need to face it head on. We need to be brave. We need to be courageous. We need to stay encouraged. We need to say ourselves, right, change has come. I'm going to be focused. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be encouraged. And I'm going to see what I need to alter and what I need to do in my life in order to move forward. And as I said, with change, everything is a lesson and it's a blessing. And I'm going to tell you a story. So years ago, I was working in an organization and I had a lady, very good lady, very nice friend. And I called her my work aunt. You know, we have these people, we work in our places, we have somebody that we connect with. And at that time, we were having a conversation about life. And I think that day I was feeling quite a little bit low. And at that stage in my life, I was actually studying for my postgraduate. And my oldest daughter, who at the time was about 13 months, and I was working full time. I was living in East and I was working in West. And my mum was my main carer and she'd gone to Africa for a year. And my husband was busy doing long shifts. And me and my daughter used to leave home in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning, drop off the childminder, go to work. And then 2-3 times a week, I used to study. And by the time sometimes I used to pick her up from after lessons, it'd be 10 o'clock at night and we'd drive home, just literally go to sleep and wake up the following morning. And I did that for a year. And I think that day I was just feeling like everything was just getting on top of me. And I said to her, I said, my life, I said, at the time, and actually I was brought up in Stratford. And I said to her, I feel like my life is like the 257 bus. And at the time, there was 2 main buses that you could get from Stratford to Walthamstow. There was a 69 bus and there was a 257 bus. And the 69 bus went from A to Z straight away. It took you straight from Stratford to Walthamstow. And the 257 bus, you got it and it took you all around the houses and it would take you so much longer to get to Walthamstow. By the time you got there, you think, oh, I don't want to be here no more. I want to go back home. And so I said to her, I feel like my life is like the 257 bus. I know where I want to get to, but I feel like I've gone all around the houses. And she said to me, Judith, I understand what you've said, but you know what? I prefer your journey. And I said, really? I said, why so? She said, even though you feel it's been a longer journey, I'm sure the people that you've met, the places that you've been to, the places you've passed, the people you've interacted with, the things that you've learned and done, they've made you who and what you are today. So tomorrow, if you're making a decision, all those things that you've interacted, the people you've seen, the place, etc., they will help you to make your decision. They will help you with anything you need to do going forward. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I never thought of it like that. So just like change, no one told us that life was going to be easy, and change is inevitable. Change will always land on our lap. And if anything this year has taught us, change is here to stay. But without change, life will be static. Life will be exactly the same. And actually, who wants life to be exactly the same? What they say, too much of a good thing. So when change comes, it forces us to think in a different way, to behave in a different way, to believe in a different way, isn't it? And that forcing, that allows us tomorrow to make different and better decisions. So what I want to say is change is inevitable. Change is always going to come, but it's how we think of that word change. What is it? It's to alter, to modify, or to replace something with something. It really is not the end. And just like you, I'm a human being, I'm an individual, and I'm not, somebody that, oh, these things don't happen to me. They happen to me. Change, uncertainty fell in my lap last week, the week before. Fog fell in my lap the week before. It was a challenge. But what I managed to do was to think of the end goal of the place I wanted to get to, and then work backwards to where I was and think, okay, what do I need to do? Some of those decisions were hard. I had to really search inside of myself and say, okay, what do I need to do? And I had to take myself out of my comfort zone. And there's something that I always say, that especially when you're dealing with change, what we shouldn't do is make decisions based on our insecurities. Because when you're faced with something, you're faced with change, you're faced with uncertainty, you're faced with a challenge, with an obstacle, even with an opportunity. What we do sometimes is we make decisions based on our insecurities because of things we're fearful of doing. And that might be our mindset playing tricks on us, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. It may be the fixed mindset, well, you can't do this, I won't do this, I've never done it before, etc. It could be that playing tricks on us. But actually, what it is that we just need to be focused, and we just need to be determined and to make sure that we embrace it. Yeah. And that we can deal with it, and we can stay on that track so we can keep on moving forward. So today, I just wanted to impart a few words about dealing with and embracing change. And I hope that after today, if change comes your way, and it has, because change is already here because of COVID-19, because of uncertainty, if more change comes your way, you will feel empowered to embrace it and to deal with it, and to look at it head on and say, change, I'm ready for you. Change, I know what I need to do. I just need to alter something. I just need to modify something. I need to adjust my mindset, and I need to be brave. I need to think of it head on. I need to look at where I want to get to, even if it's changed, and work backwards to where I am today, and to put some steps in place. And it doesn't matter if they're small steps, just as long as you keep on moving, as long as you put one foot in front of the other and you're walking towards that end goal that might have shifted, you're still moving. And you're moving, not that you're moving, oh yeah, moving, just looking around. No, when you're moving, make sure you move with purpose. Move with purpose, because everything that you do is helping you to deal and embrace with that change and to get to the end goal. And then be brave, be courageous, be flexible, be adaptable, be creative, be resourceful, think outside the box. If it means that you have to do A instead of doing C, do that. If you need to do E instead of doing G, do that. Embrace it. Think outside the box and do something different. There's a saying, if you always do what you've always done, you're always going to get the same results, which is why I said, don't base your decisions based on insecurities. Do something different that will help you get a different result and help you to really deal with and embrace with change. So I think that's all the words that I wanted to say to you today. I don't want to say too much, but just enough to help you to feel encouraged and to help you to know that, all of us we're all going through change right now. So as much as you think, oh, it's only me, it's not just you. Everybody else is going with something. It's just that you don't know what the other person is going through. There's a saying that if everybody puts all their problems in a pile, all their challenges, or everything, you look at the person next door to you and you quickly take yours back. So much as you think, oh gosh, my load is heavy, and it probably is your load is heavy. I'm not trivializing it. I think all our loads are heavy, but we're each going through something, and we just have to learn how to deal with and embrace change so that we can move forward in a focus, in a clear way, in a way that is purposeful and positive, that is keeping us on track and is taking us to their end goal. So I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for joining today, for listening. I can see lots of messages, and I hope that we'll be able to go through them. And I think if anybody has any questions, I'd like to have some time to have a Q&A to answer any questions that you have. If you have any individual, anything that you're going through, you think, I just want to throw this out there. What do I do with X, blah, blah, blah? I'd like to just encourage you and to motivate you. Put your question in and let's see how I can support you. Others on the group may be able to support you so that we can all feel encouraged. We've all come here for a reason today because we want to know how to deal with and embrace change. So I hope my words have been supportive, have been encouraging. And I think, Paul, I'd love to open up the floor now for any Q&As. And actually, I have some questions just in case.
Definitely. I have to say, just reading some of the comments that are coming through and looking at some of the people's expressions whose videos are on. I think that was a big success, Judith. I really do, and I can see lots of people clapping, nodding. Anyone wants to put some thumbs up, that would be great. I know that Judith was so excited about coming on today, and was definite. I was as well when I first spoke to her. So it's great. It's always great to get positive feedback, and it's always great to know that our speakers are feeling valued and they're making a difference. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that straight away, Judith, because I knew that you were very excited and you wanted to make sure that you gave your best show, and I can promise you've definitely done that. And lots of really, really amazing comments coming through so far. So I'm just kind of having a look through some of the comments here and see if there are any questions that have come through already. But in the meantime, if anybody has got some questions, if anyone kind of feels brave enough to come off mute, then we love that. That would be great. But also put some questions in the chat box. From what I can see, Judith, they're not so much questions. They're all amazing feedback. It's fantastic and inspiring. Thank you. Great words. You're so positive. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is fantastic. Yeah, thank you. It's just what I needed to hear. It was perfect today. Great mindset, great attitude. So, I mean, wonderful feedback so far, Judith.
Wow.
And my biggest takeaway from it was the sentence, "Change, I'm ready for you." I love that. That kind of it just kind of sums things up straight away, doesn't it? In the most succinct fashion.
It really does. I mean, thank you, Paul, and thank you so much for. I've got somebody said she would ask a question. Should we answer that before?
Yes, please do. Sarah, so Sarah, do you want to come off mute and
already done?
Come on. Yes, brilliant. Come on, Sarah.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Judith, for that. I always used to be the type of person that embraced change. Where it would scare me, I'd think, do you know what? Put on your big girl pants and get on with it. Push yourself forward, embrace that change. As I've got older, I've found that I am more reluctant to accept change, I guess. Is there any advice that you can give somebody who has had that change in her mindset in order to recapture that wanting to embrace that change? Okay.
And I would ask, why is it actually that you think that you've become more set in your ways and you're reluctant to embrace change or to change? Is it because of certain circumstances, or you just think, you know what, I like what I like and I just don't want to? What, do you know what it is? Or
I think in some ways, I've been with the company I'm with for quite a long time now. And I think sometimes where you're told you're going to go somewhere and do something and that something positive is coming for you and you're working hard to get there, and then you keep getting kind of knocked back a little bit, or it keeps, well, not this time, but next time. Well, okay, maybe later. I think I tend to get to a point where I become quite passive. So I get to a point where I go, well, what's the point in me trying to embrace all this change? Because actually I'm just not getting anywhere.
Okay, all right then. So actually you're talking about specifically in your workplace, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. So I think where you are, it sounds like is you're quite despondent, and it's interesting because I personally myself in my professional career, I never stayed anywhere for more than 2 years because I said to myself, if I'm not growing professionally and I'm stagnating professionally, why am I here? I always need to be pushed out of my comfort zone, and I want to make sure that I'm stretched, and I want to make sure that I'm appreciated and I'm valued. So when I felt that I wasn't, and before that happened, I took a leap of faith and I kept on moving on to the next organization, growing and climbing up and up the ladder, etc. That's how I dealt with it. In terms of where you are, it's quite hard because, as you said, you've been promised something. It's almost like a carrot has been dangled in front of you and you've been promised something and it's been promised over again and it hasn't come out, and now you feel very despondent. You think, well, what's the point? It's a difficult one. This is a really, really difficult one. And I feel for you because it's not easy, especially when you're an older person like me. You know, I'm not a spring chicken. I'm a middle-aged woman. And actually, when you've been in an organization for a long time, you can't just say, right, that's it, I'm off. Because actually, you have to make sure that you don't jump from the frying pan into the fire. And what you're going to is something much better than where you are. I mean, you've embraced change your organization, and I don't know if there's an opportunity, and you've probably done this, whether to get yourself involved in other opportunities or whether to have that open and honest conversation. Say, look, I've given X amount of years to this organization. I've done this, I've achieved this, I've done that, etc. You know, what else is there for me to do? Unless there's an opportunity for you to almost have a mandate and say, look, there might be something in your workplace actually that you're passionate about. It may be women in leadership. It may be women coming from the back into the forefront. It may be, you know, it may be something that you're passionate about that you've hidden inside you that you haven't brought out. There might be an opportunity for you to bring that and say, look, I've been here for such a long time, and actually I am passionate about X, and you haven't been able to tap into that. Is an opportunity where I can bring this to the forefront, and whether it's some sort of task force or some type of movement or a group, that you can allow me to lead on this. Because if you're not willing to lead, you have to find something else that brings you passion, that you're able to bring passion from within you that you can bring out into the workforce. You know, something like that, I'm thinking, that will allow you to stay, but also utilize the innate skills that you have. I always say, you know, with women, sometimes we can be our own worst enemies, but sometimes it's our environments that don't allow us to fly or really realize what's inside us. And maybe it's having that conversation. You know, now is the year of change. Organizations are changing. They're looking at how they can be diverse. They have to embrace and look at, you know, with Black Lives Matters, their Black colleagues, their Black members of staff, women, you know, looking at having a diverse. Is that lady who's put herself on mute?
Turn it off. I've turned it off.
Can that lady put herself on mute? Hello? Okay. Was that helpful?
It really was helpful, because I mean, I am passionate about an awful lot of things, and I have been with my company, and it's appraisal season. So this is the ideal time to kind of have those conversations. But I think you're right with the frying pan into the fire. It's very difficult, you know, now we're in the middle of lockdown 2, a pandemic. It's almost a case of, because I have been thinking about moving away. But it's kind of, any job's a good job right now. So that kind of comes into play as well. Better the devil you know sometimes.
Exactly. Better the devil you know, exactly, but the devil you don't. But also with that as well, you know, you said you're coming to appraisal. That's, you know, the advice they're giving, I think, is a very good advice. But also in long term, you know, even though you have been there for a long time, even though, don't think that, okay, well, this has to be the end. You know, it could be an opportunity for you to write down your goals in life. What is it you want to achieve? And there might be something that you do that is not involved in your work, which is outside work, that gives you another sort of passion, whether it's a side hustle, something you start, or maybe there's a dream job that you've always wanted to. It doesn't mean to say that you have to stay where you are and that's the end. There's always an opportunity and possibility to look outside, to move outside, etc. It may not just be now, it may be later on. So I would say look at all opportunities and see what is inside you, and let that lead you to your next destination. You may not have to be abrupt and do it straight away, but you can plan towards it.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Judith.
You're welcome.
Good stuff. We have we've got somebody else that wants to ask a question. Michelle, do you want to come off mute, or would you prefer to put it in the chat box?
No, I'm off mute.
Fantastic.
Hi, I have lots of issues, but I don't necessarily think this is the platform to share them. How would we go about contacting you after the session for additional support?
Okay, Michelle. Or advice. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that there's some people have some questions that might be quite sensitive. So I actually do mentor and coach women. So if you go to my website, that's judithsabahmotivationalist.com. And after this, there'll be an email that will go around, and you can contact me there. I'm still working on some tools at the moment, and I'm working on my full website, but you can contact me there. You can sign up to my newsletter. And I've actually got a free guide on my website that you can download. Sign up to my newsletter, and you can also sign up to be informed when my website's live, so you can contact me then. And as I said, there's an email that'll be going around afterwards that Paul has kindly agreed to email on my behalf.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Fantastic. Has anybody got any other questions that they would like to add? Leona, is that hands up there? Do you want to come off mute, or do you want to put it in?
I've got workmen here. Can you hear me though? Because I've got a lot of noise, background noise. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Yes.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, Judith, that was an excellent session there. I just wanted to, ask a question on the personality traits that you mentioned. Resilience, resourcefulness, flexibility, and all that, which is very true. You need to have that for the growth mindset. But I also, as a manager, I say to my team, you don't just develop those traits when the change happens. You've got to develop them in the good times when you're, steady and going through your day to day, and people then become complacent because, oh, I can do it. I've always done it this way. What is your advice to people to say, right, okay, look, we all know, as you say, change might happen at some point in our lives. We don't know what that change might look like, but we can develop those traits, because I don't think anyone is born with, resilience or adaptability. We learn it through experience and things like that shape our thinking and mindset. So what would be your advice in terms of how do I start building these reserves, so to speak, before change happens?
Question: how do you start building our reserves? I always say, like myself, I'm not the end product. I'm constantly learning, growing, experiencing. And one thing that I've always done is I've always invested in myself. So whether it's courses or L&D, I always read the newspaper, I'll pick up a book, I'll read an article, etc. And these things don't have to be expensive. So I think if you're committed to growing and learning and just being a better you and keep on evolving, you've got to invest the time. It's just like somebody will say to you, okay, well, I want to grow my nails. They're not going to grow overnight. You've got to invest in it. You've got to buy the nail strengthener. You've got to go to Boots and buy the correct nail strengthener. You've got to be diligent and paint your nails every evening and put the cuticle, etc. So if you know that you want to grow and develop yourself, I would say invest that time. And it doesn't need to be expensive. There are so many resources online. You can just Google something, resource online, YouTube, Instagram, learning from one another, talking openly with one another. Like now, because of COVID has happened, everybody's being very open. We're sharing our experiences. We're sharing how we feel, how we think. And I think, as you said, you're a manager. As part of your role as a manager as well, is to grow and shape and nurture and lead your team. I always say anybody can be a manager, but not everybody can be a good manager. So part of a manager's role is to nurture, is to lead by example, to say the right things, to do the right things and encourage, because you may have a team where they might be very young and actually you might say something that will stay with that person for quite a few years, even the rest of their life. There's some things I remember from managers I've had past back in the day, or people that I've interacted with, like this example I gave is my work aunt and what she said to me and made me think differently about my life journey, and that actually being on that 257 bus wasn't such a bad thing. So I think if you know that, you know, I would say that change, as I said, is inevitable. Let's take the time to develop ourselves, surround ourselves with right people. Being on here today, we're all being encouraged. We're learning from questions that people are posing. You know, this network is a great forum to learn, to be encouraged, to inspire. And even if it's one little thing you take, it's one thing that could see you through so many different obstacles or challenges, opportunities that come your way. So I would say just always see yourself as a sponge and always be learning and growing and experiencing from others and things around us.
Fantastic. What a great answer there, Judith. I love that. I really like that. You had a couple of, we've got some, do you remember when we were talking earlier, Judith, saying, let's hope people do ask questions? We've got the other problem that we've got too many at the moment. So somebody's asking, so somebody, Daisy, do you want to come off mute or put it in the chat box? What would you prefer?
I will come off mute. Thank you.
Daisy.
Thank you so much, Judith. What advice would you give a young person who just finished uni that had her plans for the future, like when I finish uni, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and COVID has made them come to a halt, and they feel like they are basically trapped in the box and they can't do much? Because personally speaking, from a personal point of view, I feel as though when you're young, you have your plans in mind, you know where you want to go, then COVID happens and it's just like, okay, now I don't know what to do. Although embracing change, it still feels like I'm stuck, if that makes sense. So what advice would you give?
Okay, yes, okay. It's a difficult question, isn't it? Because I think there's so many young people that are going for this right now. We know, we switch on the news and we hear that young people, one of the groups that are going to be more adversely affected by COVID. And what I would say, actually, even though you're a young person, actually COVID has affected so many people regardless of their background, of their age, etc. But I hear exactly that you're a young person. It feels like your dreams have been dashed. What you do have is that you have age on your sides. So I'm probably a lot older than you, Daisy, but you have age. So it means that, okay, there's change now. It looks like your dreams have been shattered, but you've still got so much time ahead of you, even though you can't see it now, that you can change things and you can still go for your dreams. What I would say is that actually, if you feel that, okay, well, everything has been shattered in my dreams, etc., you haven't truly understood the words change. As I said in the beginning, change is not the end, it's not final, it's not eradication. It just means to alter, to modify, or to replace something with something, to tweak so that you can still stay on track. So if right now you had amazing dreams of graduating and applying for this job and get it, it may be now that dream, you have to pause it, not put it off, just pause it and put it on hold. So in the interim, you have to do something, which means you're altering, yes, you're altering and you're modifying just for now, just for this moment in time, but knowing that what you still want to do, you can still go ahead and do it. But just for now, you may have to replace something with something. So the plans that you had, you may have to replace it with a new plan just for now, until you get the chance to go on with the plan that you had. And it may mean, I don't know, looking for another role, not the role that you wanted, but doing something in the interim. And doing something in the interim doesn't mean it's the end. You know, you may do something in the interim. You might find that actually you pick up skills that may be different from the skills that you were going to do because the role that you had initially graduated and you were going to do would be different, but you may pick up some skills. And remember my 257 bus analogy. You may not, it seems like now you just wanted to finish and go straight in what you wanted to do, but COVID has come. So now you're on that 257 bus and you may have to go slightly around the houses, but you'll get there. But your journey may be a bit more interesting. You have to meet a few more people and go a few more places, but you'll still get to your end destination.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that advice. Thank you.
I couldn't agree more with that, Judith. And I do a lot of work mentoring young people coming into the workplace. And I remember I did a big presentation for What Careers Fair, which was it was at the NEC. I spoke at the NEC, which was about 2 or 3 weeks before lockdown.
Wow.
And one of the things that I kind of focused on within that talk was for young people, and Daisy, this hopefully could resonate with you. Now is the time to make mistakes. I don't think any one of us on this conversation who are 40 and above perhaps ever thought that they would go on to have the career that they're having now. When I was 18, 19, 20, I never thought for 1 second that I would own my own recruitment business. I never thought that I would go on to run an online community. I didn't even think that 2 years ago. So once you go through life, you have these experiences, and what you think when you're young, this is my end goal, quite often that changes a hell of a lot, and the directions it takes. And that's part and parcel of having a rich and fulfilling life, is to have these different experiences. And as Judith has said, the change has come. Yes, we're in a terrible moment, but there are lots of positives that perhaps could come from it, and give you a great learning curve over the years to come. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of add that, because it's something that I feel passionate about, is helping, certainly helping the younger generations get into work and helping them along in life. So Judith, we kind of blocked out 25 minutes, half an hour, and we've been going nearly an hour. So, but look, it's great. And I had a feeling when we first spoke that it would be really, really well received. And clearly it has. I know that there are people that still got questions to ask. But as Judith has mentioned, we're going to get an email out to everybody, and Judith's going to put some bits and pieces on the group today as well, so we can all get in contact with Judith. Judith is open to connecting with as many people as possible, and given the popularity and how well this event has gone, perhaps we'll get you back to do some more stuff, Judith. Are you up for that?
Yeah, definitely up for that. Yes, if you have me.
Well, we'll have you now. I've got a feeling if we leave it too long, we won't be able to afford you, Judith. So yeah, it's great to make new connections, and it's great to have kind of budding, long-standing relationships. So look, just before everybody goes, I never want to turn any of these things into a sales pitch at all. I just wanted to flag a few things that we've got going on. Since we found out the news that we were going back into the second lockdown, we've been really busy behind the scenes putting together a kind of series of events that's going to help people as much as possible. And today kind of kick-started that. So this is a great way to start. Next week, we've got a huge event with some of the best coaches in the world. Life Coach of the Year is joining us. And that event is centered around confidence, which is proving to be really, really popular. I can see that Holly's just popped the link in the chat box there. We've got another event which is focused on the legal profession for legal PAs, because I know we have a lot of legal PA followers in our group, and helping some legal PA people get the most out of lockdown, and some thoughts from some very famous secretarial managers, giving them some advice and what have you. I'm in conversation with a law of attraction coach, which I know a lot of people, it's a topic that a lot of people are interested in. So they'll be coming onto the network soon. We have an imposter syndrome coach coming on, and moving into a couple of weeks' time, we have a series of events where we've invited all of our favorite, most popular guests back on, and they are going to be sharing their biggest learnings from 2020 and giving us their top tips of how to approach 2021 with perhaps a different mindset and taking the things that they've learned from this year. So we've been so busy trying to put all these bits and pieces together, and we're kind of pretty much there with it all now, so we can announce it and tell everybody. But the big thing is our event next week, the confidence event. So we'd love to see as many people there as possible. So so as always, thanks everybody for joining us today. It's great to see so many people back on the network, so many new names, so many familiar faces, but more importantly, Judith,
Paul,
you've been an absolute star. You've been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity as well. And thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being so receptive. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Let's hope this is giving you a bit of cheer and a bit of positivity. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. And Judith, thank you once again so much.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye, everyone.